Hi gentle folks, how you all doing? I am glad to be back after that long stretch. Let me just apologize, sincerely apologize for the long lapse in reading. But I guess most persons know that we had a terrible hurricane here, Hurricane Melissa. So I live in the parish of St. Anne and we got a lot of damage aside. I know St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, quite a few other parishes. All the parishes got a hit, but some got more damage than some. So we're here. We haven't had any internet service. We still have no electricity. Well, where I am in St. Anne here, we don't have any. I still haven't gotten back electricity in my area because a lot of damage was done to the light posts. So, but I hear that we'll soon get it back. So let's see. So Wi-Fi is a challenge. Trying for your phone to pick up at a certain spot is a challenge. But the most important thing is that we have life. We're alive. Some persons lost their lives during the storm. Some persons lost their friends, their families. So we just have to give thanks that with all that's happening around us, with all the stress and the drama and the persons who lost their roofs. But I lost part of my roof. Some persons lost their house, their belongings, a lot of stuff going on. Now we're still giving thanks that we have life and we're here. So that's the most important thing. So welcome back folks. Welcome. I'm down by the nursing home, the retirement home, Happy Smile Care Home. So my plants got damaged as well down here, and we had a few other stuff that happened, but nothing major at the home here. So, and I was just in the middle of advertising and stuff, so I'm just picking up the pieces, replanting the flowers and stuff like that. You know, I would think it's more like you'd call it a rebirth. Yeah, something like that. It's storm, after the storm comes the calm. And after the cloudiness and everything, the sun comes out, the rainbow comes out. So that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm replanting the plants that I had outside got damaged and stuff. So I'm replanting and doing some potting of new plants and stuff. I did promise you folks to show you guys my plants, and I definitely gonna keep my promise. But as soon as they spring up and stuff, I'll definitely do so. Just a second folks, let me get my coffee. So, yeah, that's where we're at. So without further ado, we'll just get into it. So we had stopped at, I think we're at chapter 21. Yes. We had finished chapter 20. We had finished chapter 20 and then we had said when we come back we would start chapter 21. And chapter 21's heading is At Last, Mommy, At Last. So the mother has returned. Because remember during that period their mom hadn't come around and stuff. So we're gonna see what happens here. So without further ado, folks, let's just get into it. Because I'm sure most of you waiting to hear what's happening, and boy, Karen have this book reading so long I can't finish. So, and I'm gonna finish it before the year is out, before December is finished. So let's get right into it. So welcome back to Karen Vibes, reading for the mature audience. And as I usually say, introduce my book. The name of the book is Flowers in the Attic, and it's written by Virginia Andrews and narrated by moi, Karen. At Last, Mommy. Chris and I never discussed what had happened between us on the bed the day of the whippings. Often I caught him staring at me, but just as soon as my eyes turned to meet his would shift away. When he turned suddenly to catch me watching him, mine were the eyes to flee. We were growing more day by day. He and sorry, because I remember I said this is an old book and there are holes in it. Let me see what this is. Alright, so let me read back here. We were growing more day by day, he and I. My breast filled out fuller, my hips widened, my waist diminished, and the short hair above my forehead grew out longer and curled becomingly. Why hadn't I known before that it would curl without so much weight to pull the curls into waves only? As for Chris, his shoulders broadened, his chest became more manly, and his arms too. I caught him once in the attic staring down at that part of him. He seemed staring down at that part of him. He seemed so taken with, and measuring it too. I guess most young boys do that. Why? I asked, quite astonished to learn that the length mattered. He turned away before he told me once he'd seen Daddy naked, and what he had seemed so inadequate in size. Oh golly, just like I wondered what size bra Mommy wore. Don't do it again, I whispered. Corey had such a small male organ, and what if he had seen and felt as Chris did, that his was inadequate? Suddenly, I stopped polishing the school desk and stood very still, thinking of Corey. I turned to stare at him and Carrie. Oh God, how too much closeness dims your perspective. 2 years and 4 months we had been locked away. Can you imagine that, being locked away in an attic 2 years and 4 months? And the twins were very much as they had been the night they came. Certainly, their heads were larger. That should have diminished the size of their eyes. Yet, their eyes appeared extraordinarily large. They sat listless on that stained and smelly old mattress we had pulled close to the windows. Butterflies danced nervously in my stomach to view them objectively. Their bodies seemed frail, flower stems too weak to support the blossoms of their heads. I waited until they fell asleep in the weak sunlight, then said in an undertone to Chris, "Look at the buttercups. They don't grow, only their heads are larger." He sighed heavily, narrowed his eyes and neared the twins, hovering above them and bending to touch their transparent skins. If only they could go outside on the roof with us to benefit from the sun and fresh air like we do, Kathy. No matter how much they fight and scream, we've got to force them outside. Foolishly, we thought if we carried them out on the roof while they were asleep, they would awaken in the sunlight, held safe in our arms, and they'd feel secure enough. Cautiously, Chris lifted up Carrie while I leaned to heft Carrie's slight weight. We approached an open attic window. It was Thursday, our day to enjoy outdoors on the roof, while the servants spent their day off in town. It was safe enough to use the back part of the roof. Barely had Chris cleared the window ledge with Corey when the warm Indian sun air brought Corey suddenly out of sleep. He took one look around, seeing me with Carrie in my arms, obviously planning to take her out on the roof too, when he let out a howl. Carrie bolted out of sleep. She saw Chris with Corey on the steep roof and saw me and where I was taking her, and she let out a scream that must have been heard a mile away. Chris called to me through the racket, Come on, for their own good, we have to do this." Not only did they scream, they kicked and beat at us with small fists. Carrie clamped her teeth down on my arm, so I screamed too. Little as they were, they had the strength of those in extreme danger. Carrie was battering her fist into my face, so I could hardly see, plus screaming in my ear, Hastily, I turned around and headed back towards the schoolroom window, trembling and weak. I stood Carrie on her feet beside the teacher's desk. I leaned against that desk, gasping and panting, and thanking God for letting me get her safely back inside. That must be very dangerous, going on the ledge. Chris returned Corey to his sister. It was no use to force them out on the roof, endangered the life of all four of us. Now they were angry. Resentfully, they struggled when we pulled them towards the markings on the wall, where we'd measured their height the first day in the schoolroom. Chris held them both in place while I backed up to read the inches they had grown. I stared and I stared, shocked and disbelieving it was possible in all this time to grow only 2 inches. 2 inches. When Chris and I had gained many inches between the ages of 5 and 7, though they had been exceptionally small at birth. Corey weighing only 5 pounds and Carrie 5 pounds and 1 ounce. Oh, I had to put my hands to cover my face so they couldn't see my stunned and horrified expression. Then, that wasn't enough. I spun around so they saw only my back as I choked on the sobs stuck in my throat. "You can let them go now," I finally managed. I turned to catch a glimpse of them, scurrying away like two small flaxen-haired mice racing for the stairwell, heading towards the beloved television and the escape it offered, and the little mouse which was real and waiting for them to come and pleasure his imprisoned life. It's so sad. So they've been there locked up for how many years and the twins haven't grown just a few inches. You see, they need the sunlight, they need the air, they need to be outside. This part of the story where I call it bitterish part. Part of the bitterish part. Anyway, let's read on. Directly behind me, Chris stood and waited. Well, he asked when I just wilted, speechless. "How much have they grown?" Quickly I brushed away the tears before I turned, so I could see his eyes when I told him. 2 inches, I said, in a flat way, but the pain was in my eyes, and that was what he saw. He stepped closer and put his arms around me, then held my head so it was against his chest, and I cried. Really bawled. I hated Mommy for doing this. Really hated her. She knew children were like plants. They had to have sunshine if they were to grow. I trembled in the embrace of my brother, trying to convince myself that as soon as we were freed, they'd be beautiful again. They would. Of course they would. They'd catch up, make up the lost years, and as soon as the sunshine was upon them again, they'd shoot up like weeds. They would. Yes, they would. It was only all the long days hidden indoors that made their cheeks so hollow and their eyes so sunken. And all of that could be undone, couldn't it? Well, I began in my hoarse-choked voice, while clinging to the only one who seemed to care anymore. Does money make the world go round, or is it love? Enough love bestowed on the twins and I would have read 6 or 7, or maybe 8 inches in height, not only 2. Let me read this back again, folks. Well, I began in my hoarse, choked voice, while clinging to the only one who seemed to care more. Does money make the world go round, or is it love? Enough love bestowed on the twins, and I would have read 6 or 7 or even 8 inches gain in height, not only 2. Chris and I headed for our dim, sequestered prison to eat lunch, and as always, I sent the twins into the bathroom to wash their hands, for they certainly didn't need mouse germs to imperil their health more. As we sat quietly at the dining table, eating our sandwiches and sipping our lukewarm soup and milk, and watching TV lovers meet and kiss and make plans to run away and leave their respective spouses, the door to our room opened. I hated to look away and miss what would happen next. Yes, I did. Gaily into our room strode our mother. She wore a beautiful lightweight suit with soft grey fur at the cuffs and around the neck of the jacket. "Darlings, darlings," she cried in enthusiastic greeting, then hesitated uncertainly when not one of us jumped up to welcome her back. Here I am. Aren't you glad to see me? Oh, you just don't know how very glad I am to see all of you. I've missed you so much and thought about you and dreamed of you. And I brought you all so many beautiful presents that I chose with such care. Just wait until you see them. And I had to be so sneaky, she said. For how could I explain buying things for children? I wanted to make up for being away for so long. I did want to tell you why I was leaving. Really I did. But it was so complicated, and I didn't know exactly how long I'd be gone. And though you missed me, you were cared for, weren't you? You didn't suffer, did you? Had we suffered? Had we only missed her? Who was she anyway? Idiot thoughts, while I stared at her and listened to how difficult 4 hidden children made the lives of others. And though I wanted to deny her, keep her from ever really being close again, I faltered. Filling with hope, wanting so much to love her again and trust her again. Chris got up and spoke first, in a voice that finally resolved from one that was high and squeaky at times into reliable, deep and masculine tones, a Chris's maturity. Mommy, of course we're glad you're back. And yes, we missed you. But you were wrong to go away and stay away for so long, no matter what complicated reasons you had. Christopher, she said, her eyes widening in surprise. You don't sound like yourself. Her eyes flicked from him to me, then to the twins. Her vivaciousness simmered down. Christopher, did anything go wrong? Wrong, he repeated. Mommy, what can be right about living in one room? You said I don't sound like myself. Look at me over good. Am I a little boy now? Look at Cassie. Is she still a child? Look longest at the twins. Notice in particular how tall they've grown. Then turn your eyes back on me and tell me that Cassie and I are still children to be treated like condescension, and are incapable of understanding adult subjects. Wow! Chris can really handle himself and talk. We haven't remained idle, twiddling our thumbs while you were off having a good time. Through books, Cassie and I have lived a zillion lives. Our vicarious ways to feel alive. Sorry. Through books, Kathy and I have lived a zillion lives. And as I read this part, I remember being told as a child the same. Reading will take you to places you may never go. You get into so much characters, you go places, you meet different people. Just in books, it takes you on a different dimension. Anyway, our vicarious ways to feel alive. Mummy wanted to interrupt, but Chris overrode her small voice, which faltered. He threw her many gifts a scornful glance. So you have come back bearing peace offerings, like you always do when you know when you have done wrong. Why do you keep thinking your stupid gifts can make up for what we've lost and what we are constantly losing? Sure, once we were delighted with the games and toys and clothes you brought up to our prison room. But we're older now and gifts are just not enough. Wow, Christopher really put her in her place. Christopher, please, she begged and looked uneasily at the twins again. And so quickly she averted her eyes. Please don't speak as if you stopped loving me. I couldn't bear that, she said. I love you, was his reply. I make myself keep on loving you, despite what you do. I've got to love you. We all have to love you and believe in you and think you are looking out for our best interests. But look at us, Mommy, and really see us. Cassie feels and I feel that you close your eyes to what you are doing to us. You come to us smiling and dangle before our eyes and our ears bright hopes for the future. But nothing ever materializes. Wow, Christopher can talk, man. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Chris. Long ago, when you first told us about this house and your parents, you said we'd only be shut up in this room for one night, and then you changed it to a few days, and then it was another few weeks, and then another few months. And over 2 years have passed while we wait for an old man to die, who may never die from the skilled way his doctors keep pulling him back from the grave. Isn't that funny? But that's the way he said it. This room is not improving our health. Can't you see that? He almost shouted. His boyish face suffered. His boyish face suffused with red as his limit of self-control was reached at last. I thought I would never live to see the day when he would attack our mother, his beloved mother. Wow. The sound of his loud voice must have startled him, for he lowered his tone and spoke more calmly, and yet his words had the impact of bullets. Mummy, whether or not you inherit your father's immense fortune, we want out of this room right now. Not next week or tomorrow, but today, now. Now, this minute. You turn that key over to me and we'll go away, far away, and you can send us money if you care to, or send nothing if that's what you want. And you need never see us again if that is your choice. And that will solve all your problems. We'll be gone from your life and your father need never know we existed. And you can have what he leaves you all to yourself. Wow, this just really made me feel away. This is really sad, but it really tell her, I would have maybe tell her the same thing, really tell her in mine. Wow. Really, Chris really tell his mother his mind. Mommy went from pale to shock. I sat in my chair with my lunch half eaten. I felt sorry for her, and I felt betrayed by my own compassion. I closed the door, slammed it hard, just by thinking of those 2 weeks when we were starved, 4 days of eating nothing else but crackers and cheese, and 3 days without any food at all, and nothing but water to drink. And then the whippings, the tar in my hair, and most of all, the way Chris had to and most of all, the way Chris had to slash his wrist to feed the twins his nourishing blood. And Chris, what he was saying to her, and the hard, determined way he said it, was mostly my doing. I think she guessed this, for she shot me a stabbing glance, full of resentment. Say no more to me, Christopher. It's clear to see you are not yourself. Jumping to my feet, I stepped over to his side. Look at us, Mommy, look at us. Observe our radiant, healthy complexions, just like yours. Look especially long at your two youngest. They don't look frail, do they? Their full cheeks don't look gaunt, do they? Their hair isn't dull, is it? Their eyes, they're not dark and hollowed out, are they? When you look and register, do you see how much they've grown, how healthily they thrive? If you can't have any pity for Chris and me, have pity for the twins, have pity on them. Stop, 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 she yelled, jumping up from the bed where she'd sat to have us crowd cozily around in our former way. She spun on her heel so she wouldn't have to see us. Choking sobs were in her voice that cried, "You have no right to talk to your mother in this manner. But for me, you would all be, if it wasn't for me, you would all be starving in the streets." Her voice broke. She turned sideways, throwing Chris an appealing, woe-begone look. Haven't I done the best I could by you? Where did I go wrong? What do you lack? You knew how it would be until your grandfather died. You agreed to stay here until he did, and I've kept my word. You live in a warm, safe room. I bring to you the best of everything. Books, toys, games, the best clothes that money can buy. You have good food to eat, a TV set. Fully she faced us now, spreading wide her hands in a supplicating gesture, appearing ready to fall down on her knees, pleading with her eyes at me now. Listen to this. Your grandfather is so ill now, he is confined to bed all day long. He isn't even allowed to sit in the wheelchair. His doctors say he can't last long. A few days of the maximum, or a few weeks. The day he dies, I'll come up and unlock your door. So she still keep telling him the same old hogwash, same story. So the very day he dies, I'll come up and unlock your door and lead you down the stairs. I'll have money enough then to send all four of you to college and Chris to medical school. And you, Kathy, can continue on with your ballet lessons. I'll find for Corey the best musical teachers, and for Carrie, I'll do anything she wants. Are you going to throw away all the years you've suffered and endured without wanting for the rewards? Just when you're on the verge of reaching your goal, remember how you used to laugh and talk of what you'd do when you were blessed with more money, and when you're blessed with more money than you knew how to spend? Recall all the plans we made. Our house, where we would all live together again. Don't throw everything away by becoming impatient just when we're due to win. Tell me, I've had pleasure while you suffered, and I'll agree that I have, but I'll make up for that tenfold. Oh, I admit I was touched and wanted so much to step away from disbelief. I hovered near, trusting her again, and quivered with the suspicious fear that she was lying. Hadn't she told us from the very beginning that our grandfather was taking his last breath? Years and years of his breathing, his last breath. Should I yell out, "Mommy, we just don't believe you anymore"? I wanted to wound her, make her bleed as we had bled with our tears, isolation, and loneliness. to say nothing of this, to say nothing of the punishments. But Chris looked at me forbiddingly, making me ashamed, because Chris must realize what she's thinking and said, don't feel sorry for her, don't feel sorry for mommy. But Chris looked at me forbiddingly, making me ashamed. Could I be as chivalrous as he was? Would that I could open my mouth, ignore him, and shout all that the grandmother had done to punish us for nothing. For some strange reason, I stayed quiet. Maybe I was protecting the twins from knowing too much. Maybe I was waiting for Chris to tell her first. He stood and gazed at her with soft compassion, forgetting the tar in my hair and the weeks without food, and the dead mice he would make tasty with salt and pepper, and then the whippings. He was beside me, his arms brushing mine. He trembled with indecision, and in his eyes were tormented visions of hope and despair as he watched our mother begin to cry. The twins crept closer to cling to my skirt as Mommy crumpled down on the nearest bed to sob and beat her fist into the pillow, just like a child. So we'll pause right there. So we're at chapter 21. Still at sorry. So I don't know why I keep getting tongue twisted. So we are at chapter 21, and we're going to pause right there, and we will be back in short order. I promise you guys. Because we get into the juicy part. But what a mother, man. She leaves the children for so long and go away and all the things that they suffer. And then she just suddenly come with gifts and telling the same old story, and then they must just believe her. But as we read along, we'll see what happens. So we'll pause there for today. So folks, as usual, thank you for listening. Thank you for visiting my page. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Please leave your comments. Oh, I do enjoy reading the comments. I do enjoy when you leave your comments. I really enjoy that. So please leave your comments. And it's good to be back. You know, what is more precious than life? With all that's happening around us, it's good to be here. Good to be here. Alright folks, thank you so much. And as I said, we'll be back in short order. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And you all keep safe. Peace out. And if you haven't been following my reading, you can just go on Karen Vibes. That's on YouTube. So it's KRENVIBES. That's with an exclamation sign. You'll see my picture. See that picture of my big forehead? No, just messing. I'm proud of my big forehead. I'm proud of my African look. Anyway. You'll see my picture and you'll know that's me, and you can go on and see the readings that I've done and pick up from there if you have been following. Alright folks, so peace out, keep safe, and I'll see you guys soon.